What's up, guys, and welcome back to the infamous project. We are finally going to be getting back to a project that has been sitting a little stagnant for the past couple of months, and that is Justin's 1990 Black Notch project, now named the Atomic Fox. So if you guys are new to the channel, go back and check out the videos on this car. It goes through the overview of it with the old drivetrain, pulling everything out, redoing the engine bay in a controversial Tiffany blue, if you will, although I think a lot of people are actually quite fond of the Tiffany blue engine bay, more so than the seaside blue engine bay that we did in the old shitbox Fox over here, which I actually need to try and get this car running. Here, let's see, just so you guys can see the old seaside blue lingering in here. There it is. All right, so kind of in the same paint families, but I don't know, just something, I think the way it pops against the black, and you just get that beautiful contrast in there. Look at that Prestige 363 stroker. All right, we got the blower cocked in a better position now to hopefully get a nice discharge pipe to that massive, like 105 millimeter throttle body. That's pretty much where things left off. We got the motor and transmission installed in the car, did some measurements for a custom drive shaft, and still need to get the headers bolted on. And we cleaned up a bunch of the wiring, and that's pretty much where the project kicked off. And now, well, Chuck's 91 GT is now back up in Michigan. He's enjoying the car, got unveiled, or not unveiled, but I guess its first real showcasing of the completed project was up at Motor City Foxfest a couple weeks ago. So now this guy needs to be ready for Foxtoberfest. So that is the deadline that we have, and I'm pretty confident that we can make it happen, right? We don't have to paint the car, driveline's already in it. All we got to do is wire this motor up and do a lot of little custom touches. You can see everything has been pulled out for a number of reasons. We got all the trim and core glass and everything out because we're going to be redoing all that so that everything looks the part and is perfect on the car. We'll probably be doing something custom on these inserts. And that's kind of the nice thing about a black interior from a 90 car, is that this is actually removable on an OEM black panel. So we got these. We'll be, man, he was using his map pocket, stretching them out. What's he got here? No way, dude. Ha! Oh man, we're actually going out to dinner tonight, so I'm going to be bringing this this topic of conversation up. That is very, very fitting. Def Leppard, look at that. So awesome. Factory radio was still in the car, hence the cassette tape, so that'll probably go to Todd Lane to get the Bluetooth retrofit in it. We'll probably upgrade the speakers respectively in all of the areas. And the dash was out to pull the HVAC box, do a heater core, and actually, sorry, no heater core, just the evaporator core. There's not going to be heat in this car. So that's actually already deleted. There's no pipes coming out, and it's nice and clean in the firewall there. You see the Terminator X brain sitting on the floor there. And that's what I'm starting to deal with today. See all of the respective parts here, protected out of harm's way. So yeah, gonna start on the wiring so that way we can get everything sorted out so that the motor has all of the functioning requirements in order to run. And we gotta do some updates to the fuel system with the fuel lines, get some PTFE lines in there. Currently it was like the braided AN line, and just want to, number one, PTFE Gets you the same volume and a smaller overall outer diameter because the nylon inside of PTFE is very thin-walled versus a very thick rubber AN line. And PTFE, of course, is E85 friendly versus E85 will eventually rot the rubber in a traditional AN line. You guys are going to be wondering why there's another black notch here. So this does not have a project name yet. I can tell you, though, that it will be receiving this Godzilla sitting right here. All right, so this is going to be the candidate for that car. And see the Team ZK members already on the floor there. So in case you guys are wondering, beautiful black on black notch. Trim is phenomenal. Like very, very clean car. So we got 2 black notches to work on here. You guys know how I feel about black notches, right? Anyways, so here's the wiring for the Terminator X. And, you know, it comes pre-loomed and taped. And I've never really been a fan of how they tape and wrap all this. And of course, sometimes some people end up cutting these down to length and doing a whole bunch of things. But I'm wrapping this main loom as tight as I can get it. Sort of like that. Just wrapping my harness tape around it. And I'm going to recover it with the LX Tech loom here. Just so that way the loom matches, because I've done all the other loom in the car with this, and just kind of has a nicer overall look and feel. And we'll get rid of this shiny looking electrical tape stuff that Holley has. Well, we're not getting rid of it. It's going to be staying underneath all of this, right? So in case you guys remember or forget, or don't remember, I guess I should say. So here's all the LX Tech wiring here. You can see I've got it through the old cruise control opening, so that way there's nothing coming into the engine bay and then trying to come out through the inner apron there. This way everything, we're trying to keep as much stuff out of the bay as possible to keep everything nice and clean and tidy in there. And all right, so started routing things and all the headlight harness cleaned up, all right, all the connectors and everything else pretty much ready to go here. So it's a big project, but a lot of the hard work and the dirty work, the painting the underneath the car, which I had completely forgot about, that was a massive undertaking because all of the front end was out, the rear end was out of the car, all the Maximum Motorsport stuff, the torque arm, and the list goes on, was all removed so that we could paint the underside of this car. So for now, I'm just going to do some easy work, rewrapping this. All right guys, fishing wires through the bay here, taking our time. Pull them out down here near the, all right, factory computer area. All right guys, so it's pretty much that simple. All of the harnesses are within a very short amount of reach here with this setup. So injectors, this guy is ignition. So all of that, or those connectors I should say, are down in the valley in the back there, as is the map sensor. We'll need oil pressure hooked up, but you can see IAC is plugged in, TPS is plugged in, the O2 sensor is going down that way, coolant temp plugged in right there. So it's pretty easy. Our oil pressure is way over here, okay, so I am gonna have to extend that harness. No big deal, right? So we will find a way to get that from there down over to there. And guys, it's super simple. This the Holley stuff indeed is kind of a no-brainer. It really is, especially with a fully built application such as this one. Now, in terms of the computer, like I said, you could possibly go back here where the amplifier is, and I do like that spot, although for keeping the premium sound, we don't really have as good as of a location there. Our other option could be behind the glove box. For the sake of getting everything running, like this can sit right here as long as everything else gets wired up. So we'll see which way I go. Slowly but surely, I'm trying to get the header hardware in. Got these black ARP bolts, and it's a challenge, as I'm sure a lot of you can relate, just trying to like hold and maneuver and not scratch things and everything else. So I kind of try and go for one, and then I take a break and step away and do something else, and then come back to it. And I'm down to, I need two more left on this side, and I've got 1, 2, 3 on that side. So we're getting there. So one thing that I've been focused on here recently is just getting ready to get the actual dash back in. So the heater box is already out. We put a new evaporator core in. The heater core has been deleted. There will not be heat in this car, so that box is empty. We've established we're going to keep the factory radio with the Bluetooth upgrade, so all of the football amplifier and all that type of stuff is staying in place. I did go ahead and remove the airbag related modules, such as this. And then there is some relays, or there's a box that goes up here. I've already taken that one out since there is no airbag in this car. And we have our new piece here that holds the Holley screen in place and bolts into the factory locations on the dash. So I want to get the dash in so we can make sure that all that's going to work. And I've gone ahead and put some kill mat in some strategic places, keep things from rattling, keep things in place, keep them from moving, and just, you know, wherever I feel, you know, something could rattle or make some noise. So fingers crossed, we're in a position to put this thing in. Like sometimes you just kind of never know, right? Like the hydraulic clutch pedal assembly, that's already done. The 93 Cobra booster, that's already done. So all the things that you want the dash out for, I think, are done. So I'm just going to give everything one last once over, and then I'll be able to reinstall the dash, and I'll be able to go from there and start finishing up, figuring out mounting this wiring, if it's going behind the glove box here, or if we're going to stick it up in the kick panel, and figure the rest of everything out. So one other thing before we put this in, see how this is pretty much not even seating? That's our HVAC. So I'm just going to run a self-tapping screw right through here. I'm going to do the same thing over here on this guy. There's even like a hole there, like they should have done this from the factory, but they don't. And just to make sure that things are held in place. You can see here there's almost like too much tension on this screw, but that's just the quality of fitment from back in the day. And your AC is not going to do much when it's blowing behind the dash and not out your vent. we go, just like that. Held nice in place. And if your foam's in bad shape, you can use Kill Mat or something like that, but guys, even just that will make your contact and your connection to make sure your air is going where you want it to. All right, got the dash all Kill Matted in a couple strategic areas. Again, just to give some solidity, if you will, to certain areas and seal up air passages and anything that's resting against another area. We don't want squeaks, we don't want rattles. So wipe out all the cobwebs from sitting and the dust. We'll get it back in the car. Plugging right away here at Justin's Atomic Fox, and while the camera wasn't rolling, there's been a lot of time head scratching and just kind of staring, puzzled look on the face, trying to come up with homes for a lot of components. A lot of you guys can appreciate and understand that it's not as easy when you have all these new components and you're trying to keep things clean, you're trying to hide wires and just make things functional, yet nice, tidy, convenient, right? Because like wire tucks are not convenient. Right? If things go wrong and you got to pull an inner fender out just to access your wiring, it can be a little bit of a pain in the ass. So quite a few components here have been mocked up and positioned. I'll go over those with you here real quick. So one of the, I guess, common mods, whether you got a fully built motor or not, is the contour fan setup. So everything has been done here that you get from LMR. The only difference is I actually use all 4 bolts top and bottom, whereas LMR only uses 2. So that went in really nice. The wiring is not yet done. All right, so those are dangling down there. I got the overflow bottle, which is in black, mocked into position. We got the Concept 1. This is the power steering fluid reservoir. And what I really wanted to do here is I didn't want to have to drill any holes. Now I know that this is technically a custom build, but even with a custom build, and I did it same approach with Chuck's car, is that if I can use something that's existing, well, I'm going to use existing holes or whatever it might be. So in this case, I went ahead and used some existing holes here, and I'll have to do a custom, everything will need custom brackets at the end, but this guy will be able to quite easily supply fluid to the pump and to the rack. So we want everything within relative, I guess, convenience, if you will. And then this is the oil separator and slash catch can. So this guy I've got mounted off here, kind of where the factory coil-ish area would be. And I kind of like it because it hides a little bit of the ugliness of the master cylinder and everything else that's going on there. And same thing, this is going to give us really good access to get to the bungs that are in the valve covers, which are located in the rear on both sides. So we will get some, we have our Deechworks PTFE line, CP line, everything that we need to do the hydraulics of the power steering pump, the catch can setup, the fuel lines, the fuel pressure regulator is on its way. And what else do we got here? Coil, I've got it over there. I don't necessarily like it there because, like, I wouldn't mind it. And of course the wires are just here temporarily. The reason why I kind of liked it over here is that it gives good access to keep things clean and hide wiring and everything else if it came through the back here. But the one thing that makes me not like this location is how do I get the actual coil wire over here without it being ugly or in the way. I could probably try and do something, you know, with the killer glass pipe. Who knows? But we will figure that out. For now, it can live here because the elephant in the room is how this piping is going to go. Justin was by earlier and we got a couple ideas. Walker Pro Performance, the same guys that did the exhaust on the twin turbo car, and they actually did the exhaust on this car with the stainless bros right here. As you can see, beautiful, beautiful pieces and work. They are going to come up with the solution to get from the blower to the throttle body, and then more importantly, where we're going to get our cold air supply from. And to make things even trickier, all right, we got the blow off of blow offs right here. And all right, so that could either be under or on the back side or whatever side that we end up going with this. So as you can see, it's not as easy as just bolting things in and going, but we're getting there. A lot of the pieces and components are relatively in position and where they need to be. I'm gonna have to get at the brake lines and get those all squared away and the fuel lines. But what I've been working on here is wiring. So we got the Pro Dash, well, it's just sitting in here with the, I guess, bezel that goes into the factory location off the individual on Facebook. So I'm going to figure out, I want to mount that in there. I don't want to just pressure fit the way that it comes. I want to make sure that I can mitigate as many rattles or squeaks or anything else that might be or come as a result. And I'm just actually about to deal with the wiring for the Pro Dash, which is switched ignition, constant power, and a ground. So pretty basic stuff. In the trunk here, we already had a relay setup for the fuel pump system. So if you guys remember, this is an 0304 Cobra tank in this car. So the fuel system from the tank's point of view is already more than sufficient for the motor and everything else. So the only thing that I had to do here was get our green wire from the Holley that is triggering this relay, which is supplied from direct battery power with the little Odyssey battery right there. So that's actually connected and done. We got lots of lengths of wire and everything else. So of course our constant 12 volts that are going straight to the battery. There's that fuel pump wire that I just showed you guys. And of course, manuals, you gotta read and follow the instructions, and as many times as maybe you've done this, just make sure that you go through it and just check the stuff off as you go, because you never know, and it'd be something so stupid and so simple that you forget or thought that you had done and you had missed. So I opted to place the MSD box underneath the passenger seat here, so I'm literally just going to get some Velcro, industrial Velcro, and it's going to live here. And it works out pretty good from a wiring perspective. The only thing that I had to lengthen in the harness was the actual output wires that go to the coil. Here's the connection from the MS, because otherwise, guys, it's really just power, ground, switched ignition, and your output to your coil, and then your input that's coming from the Holley right here, this white wire. Switched ignition, I've got over here coming off the factory connector, the gray with yellow stripe, so that way I don't need to go too far, and that's a really heavy gauge wire, so that'll help supply the switched 12 volts that needs to go to both the MSD box and to the Terminator X. So everything is, all right, like these are just, that's the relay for the fuel pump. That's the fuse for the system, or main fuse for the system. That's the fuse for the fuse pump, or for the fuse pump for the fuel pump. And then I've got a bunch of wires that are, I guess, stretched out here. And these are inputs and outputs that come additional with the system. So a lot of these are, there's one output wire and 3 inputs that we can use. These guys here, fan output, fan 1, fan 2. So these are going to go directly to the relays that are going to be kicking on the contour fans, which can all be controlled within the Holley. You don't need that Dakota digital controller. You don't need any of that stuff because Holley actually has it taken care of for you. And then we got these 2 wires here. These will be for AC. So that way it bumps the idle up when you first put the load on of turning on your AC, so it doesn't make your car want to stall. And then also your wide open throttle AC shut off. Now as soon as I get the dash powered and grounded, I'll be able to turn the ignition forward. I want to see if the fuel pump kicks on. I want to see if the screen kicks on, and right, everything else is all plugged in with the exception of, I think this is fuel pressure. So we got our sensors right here. So one will be fuel pressure, as I mentioned before. Fuel pressure should be pretty straightforward. The regulator will end up living in here somewhere, but otherwise everything is labeled, plugged in, and pretty much ready to go. Like if we had our fuel done, we'd almost be in a position to fire this up. I just got to get the tune from Justin so that he's got it on the USB stick that came from Prestige, so we can get that done. And I do need to get this throttle bracket sorted out. Yeah, I want to make sure it's a nice throttle bracket too, that looks the part. Anyways, let me get this wiring done. Let's see if we can power up the Holley and see if the Terminator X is turning on and doing its thing. Okay, got our wiring done. Guys, I had to make my own test light because I don't know what I did with my commercial shop test light. It went somewhere. I was using it the other day when I was working on the ship box, and I don't know what I did with it, but I was actually just testing to make sure that that gray with the yellow is doing what I want it to do, which is send 12 volts with the key on, which it is. You can actually hear the relay in the back there for the fuel pump kick on, and we got a dash. New ECU found. Look at that. This is sweet. All right, so small little victories, great way to close out the day. I feel like I was somewhat productive. And guys, when you're going through and you're doing wiring and you're mocking things up, literally hours can go by and you feel like you're not making any headway. And then there's like this weird little tipping point where everything starts coming together and you're like, holy shit, I can almost throw power to something and see if it's gonna come to life, which it looks like it has. That's it, guys. I'm gonna wrap this one up here. Next video, probably get the car from there onto the lift and knock out the fuel system. And from there, once we got fuel, get that O2 sensor in the bung underneath, and we'll be ready to hit the key and see that thing, we'll hear that thing fire for the first time, so stick around.